Okay, we're back for pentatonic shape extensions part 2. Okay, and we're talking about extending that first pentatonic shape. And what are we doing? We are taking, brief recap, we are taking this little pattern up here above pentatonic shape 1. Okay, we're taking this little rectangle shape on the E and A strings, G, A, C, and D, and we're gluing it to the top of pentatonic shape 1. Okay? Very simple. These four notes, gluing it right on top. And then we're taking this little group of notes down here on strings G, B, and E, the ninth, 8, 10, 8, 10 frets on these strings, okay? Little house looking pattern or home plate, the way I think of it, you know. So 9 on G, 8 on B, 10 on B, 8 on E, high E, 10 on high E. Okay. I hate trying to say, 12th fret on sixth string. It's such a tongue twister, which is why I think it's better to learn the actual notes of the strings so we don't have to go through that. Okay. So what are these notes? Well, up here, it's G, A, C, and D. All four notes are part of that pentatonic scale. Okay. What we're missing is the C. Uh, the C, the C note, because we're not putting the whole scale on it. We're just putting these four notes. Okay. And when we get up here, we're doing E, G, A, C, D. Okay, 9th fret, 8th fret, 10th fret, 8th fret, 10th fret. E, G, A, C, D. We're gluing that to the bottom of that scale. So now we're from here to here. We've established our extended pentatonic scale, and it's movable. Move it down to G minor if you want, B minor, C minor, D minor, E minor, wherever you want to go. And don't forget, once we get past the 12th fret, which we hadn't really talked to, but now, we've got this whole fretboard, which is a mirror image of this side of the fretboard. Okay? And I think of the fretboard this way. So whatever happens here happens exactly here. The only thing that here is sometimes it's more comfortable to play because the frets are that much closer to each other. Okay, that's the benefit, I guess, playing down here. Not to mention you have your higher octaves, right? So whatever happens here absolutely can happen here from the 12th fret forward. Okay, so let's keep that in mind while we're discussing that. Okay, so one of the handouts that I sent you is this little group of patterns. And what it is I'll call out the frets, okay? Starting on the 6th string, this is going to be a 2-string pattern. And we're going to go 3rd fret, 5th fret on the 6th string. Now move over to the 8th string, to the 5th string now, okay? And we're going to do the same thing, 3rd fret, 5th fret. Now we're going to add the 7th fret. So all together, it is on the 6th string, 3rd, 5th frets, then over to the 8th string, 3rd, 5th, 7th. That little grouping is your whole pentatonic scale. Those 5 notes. That's the whole scale right there in a little pattern for you. Okay? So, G, A, C, D, E. G, A, C, D, E. G, A, C, D, E. That's the pentatonic scale. Now, if you've got long fingers, and I don't, when you get to the D on the A string, yes, you can hit it with the pinky, hit the E with the pinky, okay? Or slide into it. I usually slide into it. I don't have that big of fingers. And I'm missing the tip of one finger. So it's my reach is now that much shorter. Okay, so real easy. If you visualize this and you see what we're doing, we're using that little extension, right, on the pentatonic scale number 1, and we're borrowing it up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, those aren't the intervals, mind you. I'm just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. We're borrowing that little section. We're breaking this big scale down. And honestly, 5 notes for a scale isn't all that big, okay? And it shouldn't be all that complicated. But, to some people it could be. So we're breaking it down into digestible little chunks. And in doing so, we're unveiling the patterns, okay? Just like, peeling an onion. There's more and more layers to it. And none of it's complicated. Okay, sometimes you just have to stop and look at it slightly differently. Okay, so we have this little pattern here, right? G, A, C, D, E. G, A, C, D, E. Awesome, right? Then what? We're going to take the same exact pattern, and we're going to keep utilizing it across the strings. Okay. So, starting on the 6th string, G, A, C, D, E. What happens when we get to the E, which is the 7th fret of the A string? Well, we're going to move down to the D string, next string over, and we're going to start the same pattern over again on the 5th fret. Okay, same notes, same order. G, A, C, D, E. Okay, and that's going across strings D and G. Right? That's upwards and backwards. Same notes, same pattern, different strings. Okay, so we're grouping our strings in pairs, basically. Pairs, strings 6 and 5, and then 4 and 3. What's next? Strings 2 and 1, right? What's the rule when we hit string 2? What happens when we hit the B string? Gotta compensate and make that that semitone shift, that half tone shift, right? So, when we get down to the 9th fret of the G string, okay, we have to, instead of going back 2 frets to start the pattern over again, we're only going back 1 fret. Okay, so we're going from the E on the G string to the B string, right? Now we just covered this box, right? The same exact pattern we just talked about, because it's an extension, it's that upper extension for pattern 1, right? So on the 9th fret of the G string, we're at E, E, G, A, C, D. And now we're adding the E again at the 12th fret. So this new pattern fits, right? And that's that second handout, okay? It all interlocks. The order of the notes never changed. Your hand position changed, okay? But that's all that's changed. And what we're doing is we're just expanding our range of the fretboard, okay? And it's not magical, it's not mythical, it's easy. And when you practice this, if you practice it and actually say the notes, you are doing yourself so much more service than just blindly doing this, up and down, up and down, up and down. If you're singing along and you're writing your music, that's one thing. But when you're practicing, practice with intent and practice with a focus. You can practice actively, or you can practice passively. So when you're doing this, at least in the beginning, practice actively and have a purpose to what you're doing here, okay? If you're going to practice passively, I consider that sitting in front of the TV. You may have your electric guitar with you. You're not plugged into anything, and you're just moving your fingers around, right? So you're doing whatever. You're not paying attention to the guitar. You're half-assed paying attention to the TV, right? So that's passive. And yeah, you may be consciously aware of what you're hitting, and if you hit a sour note, you hit a sour note. You just keep moving on, right? But when you're actively practicing, call out the notes, at least in the beginning, until you start recognizing where you are in the scale. Okay, it'll just do you so much more of a service, in developing your playing. Okay, so G, whoops, G A C D E, G A C D E, G A C D E, up and down, right? That's it. This is the extension. This is your pentatonic scale, okay? And I hope that it's demystified for you. There is nothing complicated about this. And even these patterns, none of these patterns are complicated, right? What would we start off with? Minor, major, okay? The scale shape, the forms haven't changed. The way we're applying them to the fretboards moved a little bit, but the actual shape itself, it hasn't changed, okay? Now, keep in mind, this applies to standard tuning, okay? And the reason why is, hopefully it's obvious. We start using drop tunings. If I start using a drop D, well, now the low E string's in D. So now I'm throwing off my scale patterns for the low E string. And whatever, you just go on from there. Open G tuning, that's going to be all kinds of, everything's out the window at that point, and you just have to sit there and memorize major and minor chord shapes. I don't know, maybe someday we could get into that. And that's not that hard, but it's like anything else. It's like a kettle of water, man. You got to keep a flame under it to keep the water boiling. And for me, I'll tell you, once I turn that flame down and I don't pay attention to it, it's gone. I forget about it. So you got to keep a flame underneath it all the time to keep that water hot. So work on this. And the only other thing is, on one of the sheets that I passed out is for, it highlights the blue note. Okay, and we didn't get into this at all. And what the blue note is, it's the flat 5. Which is what makes that minor pentatonic scale. When you play that flat 5 tone, okay, when you play that note, that's what's giving you that kind of bluesy feeling, right? So, what is it? It's going to be E flat in A minor, okay? So, okay, so we haven't gone over that too much, but I gave you the handout and I highlighted it for you. The flat 5, okay, wherever your tonic is, and the tonic is always the inside, the second 1/4, right? Here's the root note. That flat 5 is always going to be on the next string, okay? When we're talking about the pentatonics like this. Index here. So, that's the root. If you make a power chord, right? An A power chord, it's a root 5th power chord, what they call a root 5 or R5 power chord. So it's root A 5 on the A string, right? That's the E. That's the root and 5th. Well, the flat 5 is right underneath it. That's your blue note. It's always going to be one string over from the tonic. Always. Okay. I'm trying to emphasize that blue note for you so you hear it with a little vibrato there. Okay. So uh, that's one of the handouts, and we didn't talk about it, but now we have talked about it. So that's going to cover our extended pentatonic shapes. Okay. Any questions? Text me or whatever. And the next video is what are we going to do with this information? Okay. I don't want this just to be stagnant kind of information. Puts it in that data category, right? Data is not information until we do something with it. So now we got to do something with this, and that'll be the next video. Okay, peace out.